argument of you will lose out economically from the benefits that these platforms offer. For you, that doesn't
show me the numbers.
Show
me the
let's
show me the numbers. Like
this conversation.
Really, because someone was paid 300,000 for a brand to take advantage of their followers, that's not what you're talking about.
In the grander
when you
scheme of
actually
things.
look at it, there's a reason TikTok is investing so heavily in our market.
Gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha.
Why would they focus so much here? So we need to actually weigh the gains, you know, versus the
and there's something interesting you both brought up earlier in the sense how TikTok gets to you. Even before I signed up for TikTok, I'd still get TikTok videos, whether it's on WhatsApp, those funny clips and what have you. And based on that strategy, they're able to get a wider footprint on various platforms. Not
just because content is forwarded to you.
Yes.
But because they're very smart with, so it's not just TikTok that's using the TikTok algorithm.
Okay.
A lot of, they're sort of like renting out, quote unquote, the algorithm to so many other digital apps. So they're borrowing that technology.
Yes.
So anyone who's using the algorithm, for whatever reason, the agreement is that they share data on their users.
Wow.
So that's where you find 30,000 other apps, you know, that's some are even, you've never heard of them, that, you know, some you use without knowing. That's where the thing is, you know?
Okay.
So don't go after TikTok, the company that's owned by ByteDance. Go after the algorithm, and then you'll realize it's more than just one organization.
Something bigger at play. Yeah. But you mentioned Oracle. Who are the other beneficiaries at that scale?
And I really don't want anyone to come after me.
No. Like it's in understanding.
So there was, I think there was there's currently, you know, I think in the U.S. Congress, a conversation to have Apple and Google drop, you know, to drop the TikTok app from a default app in your phone. But there, you know, you should dissect and see whether there are agreements. You know, what are the agreements between Google and TikTok and Apple and TikTok? You know, because there's a conversation there and there's a reason. There's a process why, you know, not all apps end up on Apple Store and you know, the Android shop, you know. So I think the strategic relationships that TikTok has done, and I think they're really smart. From a business perspective, I actually admire what they've done, you know. Given that they're giving all these other older apps around for their money, and they only started, you know, in 2020.
17.
We found out about it during COVID in 2017. Thanks for correcting.
It was in the lab probably 2017.
And you know, one of the few companies that really benefited from COVID, I must say, and you know, and just being very dynamic and, you know, understanding their market and giving the market the kind of content that they use. There's some brilliance in their business model, which can be emulated by other, you know, Kenyan local businesses and used to other. So it's not all bad, and it's good to remind ourselves, you know, that.
Which is why it needs to be regulated.
Yeah.
Right? But then there's the question of whether it can be regulated. I've sat in rooms where parliamentarians in committee setups are investigating the, you know, spread of exam cheating through platforms like Telegram, and it being beyond or a bit further ahead than the regulators in terms of catching the bad guys, because the centers with the HQs are not even in Kenya in terms of these platforms. And some of the MPs, lawmakers said, guys, if it's not working for us, let's ban it first, then get them to tailor make it to our demands.
See, the issue is, now this is very interesting, because now again you're coming back to the war. It's actually within our sector we call it the war on encryption, right? Because such things. So, for example, which is the country that has the largest number of shutdowns in the world?
Shutdowns in what way?
Internet shutdowns. India.
India, okay.
Okay. Do you know why?
No.
Exam cheating. Like, it's literally the number 1 reason the internet gets shut down in several Indian states, right? And the question whether how effective it has become
is to be debated.
Right? And so that is one of the toughest questions to try and answer, right? Do you let the encryption of private instant messaging applications remain alive, right? to protect user privacy, right, as opposed to, right, allowing for various pieces of content to float in within those silos. It's some of the biggest problems that perhaps we could ever encounter when it comes to it's the biggest policy question, I think, within the tech sector across the world.
Got you.
Right, because it has implications on child exposure, right? It's got child exposure to sexual material, child grooming, for example, secondly, and then you've got things now like exam cheating, terrorism as well has a huge Telegram problem, right? So this is now a debate that has been ongoing, and there are very many people who are on either sides of the thing. Okay. Some who are just like, look, to be honest, this thing cannot exist. Okay. And some who are like, look, to be honest, this is a fundamental human right and it has to exist.
All right.
So it's a very, very big question. I don't have the answers right now as yet around that.
Yeah.
But I do see the thread, and I'm following that debate very closely.
Do you see a bottleneck, and you'll answer this too, given our relationship with China in terms of economically and our dependence in many ways, to dealing with this, if indeed there is intent to regulate TikTok stronger in Kenya, because we're already in.
So do you think that, you're, in a sense, you're asking about pushback from the Chinese government? I mean, I really can't speculate. I don't have enough information.
But in the sense, we won't see this end up in a total ban based on already existing relationships. And then a way of, do we really want to lose out on other arrangements that we have with China? Because that
it depends on how. So the one thing, here's what I'd say about that. What needs to happen for TikTok is that they have to come forward. They need to stop hiding.
Lay bare.
Yes.
Okay.
They have to come. They have to bring their reps forward. They have to make the case for themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. They can't let anyone else take this up for them. Not the Chinese government. Not perhaps, sometimes they will try to coerce rights organizations to come in and do this, right? They are the ones that have to come forward, because these problems that people are highlighting are largely to do with them and their practices. To be honest, and I say this, like, this is something that they really got themselves into, to be honest. Like, it's a real...
They had it coming.
They actually had it coming.
Okay.
People warned them about this across several countries. When you look at the petition, the way it's been written, that person, like, it's Bob or Ben? Bob has actually used evidence from other countries that, to be honest, I personally have followed, right? And they did not get their act together on time. If anything, the people that are supposed to keep the platform safe, they've been mistreating them, right?
Okay.
So,
all right.
Chickens have come home.
And in your view, any bottleneck or any hindrance you see to pushing TikTok to give answers or to be accountable in a stronger way?
I think if there would be pushback, I think that would be good to see. Because if there was actually pushback from China, that should tell us that we need to ban it. Straightforward. Like, if they actually went there and said, if then that would tell us that we shouldn't have any business, with them. Right. So I think that's a very stupid angle for them to go. I think any company in its trajectory of growth will foresee problems like this.
Yeah.
So this is something I think their strategic teams should have foreseen. Look at, what they've done in the US, for instance. They started, with a really strong push, I think still during Trump's time. And it's gone to a place where TikTok is the best employer for data scientists, and they will pay them loads of money. They'll pay them better than Google in the US. So when you have more than 7,000 Americans paid and given this huge salaries, it puts the state in a very, awkward position where now you actually have a legitimate employer, that is providing American jobs, and in this economic situation, you really don't want to be the one who shuts down a company that is employing thousands of Americans. So I think if they respond to Kenya with the same kind of attitude in terms of let's treat Kenya as a stakeholder, let's actually listen to the concerns. Let's be respectful of the cultural, context, because some of the stuff that is visible here, you will never see it in China.
Actually, no, you'll never.
You will never have access. You'll never expose Chinese children to the kind of stupidity that Kenyan children are accessing on TikTok. So why are you varying the rules? Because that content is very profitable. So they will delay until you actually crack the whip, and then they will comply.
Okay.
And that's not just TikTok. That's all the platforms. That's what they do. They wait. They will respond to the stick. So you have to stop dilly-dallying and do your proper job. Do your regulation, call them up. You constantly have to have the watchdog. But remember, we have gatekeepers. So even part of those legislators, some of them are being lobbied. So we have to be aware. You did a study recently, or I don't know whether you want to talk about it on this platform, but there's been studies of just looking at who is being taken on trips, who's actually being entertained by big tech companies, and we should actually just declare some of this conflict. If committees, entire committees that we are expecting to come and develop regulations are actually in bed with these organizations, we should know.
Right.